Originally, I was born here across the river in St. Paul. But my parents, who were graduates from Toronto Indian School, I don't know remember what year they graduated, but they came here after I graduated. This is my mother's tribe, but she's Anishinaabe. So they came and lived in the city for a while. Then they moved to Montana after a couple of years. And I was raised on a Crow reservation in Montana the rest of my life till I got to junior. Lived on a reservation and did a lot of native stuff. And ended up I went to a high school, but I didn't really do too good in high school. But I just wasn't used to that environment.
Yeah.
And I started failing. My parents sent me to Chilocco Indian Boarding School in Oklahoma. I went there for 4 years, graduated in '69. And at Chilocco, it was called Light on the Prairie, but it was our student body consisted of about 1,400 students from all over the country, different tribes. What brought us together in that respect. And a lot of us did graduate. I think my graduating class was like 120 people. So I graduated in '69. Then from there, I went to college at Eastern Montana College for about one semester, but I don't like it too much.
Yeah.
Because I was different. I was used to being with native people, kids. And in college, their policy was to put a native with non-natives. Hopefully would adapt into that same thing.
Right.
So I didn't like that, and I didn't quite understand the culture because they were more like Animal House, partying, drinking, all that, and crazy. So I left there after a semester, quit, and then went on relocation. Relocation was a program that would finance your trip into any of the major cities of your choice, where you would study a vocation or school or whatever, and BIA would pay for it, cover everything. So I chose San Francisco to go to. Went out there, and I was there for like 2 years studying accounting at Heels Business College.
They paid for it all?
Huh?
They paid for it?
Yeah, everything was
nice.
covered. When I got there, I got a stipend to pay for my rent and everything. They put me in a place for me to rent and all that. So I was out there studying at Hills Business College with other natives that were coming from all over the country. And this was called vocational training. So I went there in 1969. And that's when I graduated too. So everything kind of happened in that year. And then when I was out there, that's when Alcatraz occurred.
Yeah.
That's when they had, first it was like, I think maybe 14 natives that went out there on a canoe from the wharf, paddled out there and landed on Alcatraz at evening time, and took the island over. They claimed that island for Indian America. And after that was, we kind of said, we claim this in the name of Native America, like Columbus did here. And then there was a lightkeeper out there taking care of the lighthouse. I was surprised him, but he said pretty soon it was natives all over because they were coming out after that, covering the island. About probably 1,200 out there later. And the idea of Alcatraz was to occupy that island because it was a treaty, I think it was the Fort Laramie Treaty, that stated any unused federal facility could revert back to native use. And that's what they were using, is that treaty right.
Okay.
Use the island, and the island was unoccupied at that time, not being used. So they wanted to use it for a tribal college, a 4-year program that for native studies, because it was only 2-year programs. It wasn't a 4-year program.
And was there an organization that was kind of
behind
it?
Well, different tribes. There was the American Indian movement, but Richard Oakes kind of developed that. He was a Pit River Indian from California, activist. Because at that time, there's a lot of activity going on in that arena, because you had the Vietnam War going on. Well, there was protests going on every weekend in San Francisco somewhere. Yeah, there's a parade going on somewhere where you got to jump in there because they had Vietnam protests going on. The Black Panthers were being developed. Chicano power was happening, and Indian power kind of stepped into that arena too. So we gathered together. We started asserting our rights as natives. It was up until then, that never happened. Now this was the first time that was a rebirth. So got out to the island, claimed that island, attempted to claim it for a treaty.
How many people were there at
But
first?
I think, in the beginning, it was only like 7 or 8.
7 or 8
occupied.
people?
Then after they got the claim, planted the flag, and the rest came out
Oh, wow.
in bigger boats.
And how did you hear about it? Just because of people in the community that you knew?
Yeah, Indian Center,
And you,
Minneapolis Indian Center. I mean, Tucson, the San Francisco Indian Center.
Okay.
Yeah. So, because up there, we're still, even though we go to different cities, we still find the natives in there at the Indian Centers, and there's really one in every city. You can go there and find out what's going on in the Native community.
yeah.
So I ended up at San Francisco, and they said there was going to be an occupation out of Alcatraz.
Yeah.
So and I didn't actually I wasn't actually in the first group that occupied it. I came out there later on.
Yeah.
'Cause I was still studying.
How long after did you show up after the first people got there?
What's that?
How long after did you show up after the first people?
I think about maybe the third week.
Okay.
It was
third
already
week.
full and everything. We had
Wow.
people set up. And they had a place you could stay. It was either in the third tier of the prison,
Yeah.
the big house. So I got there, those were all open, and you could pick any one you wanted. So I sit up on the third tier in the cell. And then that was going on, but they had activities going on every day. And claiming this island for Indian country, and they had big signs out there. Indian country, do not, private
Yeah.
property. And of course, and back at that time, we were pretty militant. So, some non-natives would try to come out there and want to help. We'd be throwing rocks at them as they try to come on the island. Get out of here, this is Indian country.
Yeah.
Drive them away. We want to do this ourselves. And we're out there I was out there doing activities. I didn't stay there all the time. I'd go back and forth because they had a tugboat that was donated by Creed's Clearwater Revival Band.
Oh yeah.
Donated a tugboat.
Really?
That was our transportation from Fisherman's Wharf out to the island. Maybe 3 or 4 times a day they donated the boat.
That's cool.
That was used all the time from Fisherman's Wharf. Then we also had donations. The Alcatraz had donations coming in all the time from the city of San Francisco. People that were donating support the occupation. So a tugboat, barge would be going out there maybe daily, bringing in food and clothing and whatever. We had plenty of support in that arena.
Yeah.
We wouldn't starve out there or whatever. So we stayed out there and did things. And then Richard Oakes, who was the leader at that time, was out there doing interviews and telling why this is happening and what the purpose was and the goal, because they had a matching, if they got it done, they would have a matching donation from the Rockefeller Foundation for $1 million to start it.
Really?
And since the facility was already there with all the buildings, it was pretty easy to renovate it and convert it to a college and all that. So that was the intent of it. Richard Oakes was doing all this, activism to promote the island's occupation.
So the
And
goal
then-
was to make it a college, though?
Yeah,
Okay.
tribal college. And he did all that. And he was actually injured when he was down at one of the bars because we drank. Back then, he did that. He was drinking in the bar and got in a fight and he got injured. Somebody threw a cue ball at his head, noggin.
Really?
So he was in a coma for about a couple of weeks.
Richard Oates?
Yeah.
This happened at the Alcatraz?
Well, it happened at a bar in San Francisco, one of the bars. That's where Indian congregate at the bars after we got done. So he got hit in the head and was actually hospitalized for a while in a coma. And when he come out, he wasn't quite the same. But during that time, that's when John Trudell took over leadership. And,
Who is he?
John Trudell, he was a poet, native activism.
Okay.
I forget what tribe he was, Santee Indian or whatever. But he took it over. He was leader for a while. And, Richard Oakes was at one home for a while, that Pitt River Reservation. And he had the family, daughter and stuff. And then one of his daughters come running home one time and started crying because he said the farmer yelled at her and she was screaming. So he went out to confront that farmer. And that farmer shot him for trespassing on private property,
Really?
killed him.
Really?
Well, that's where he met his demise. So, and that was going on all the time. I know across not just Indian America, because we were being killed off in cities. You ever notice during the occupation of the Wounded Knee, there was actually like 59 deaths there, not connected to that event, but this previous going on before that historically, unaccounted for. Nobody investigated. They just show up dead. And that was pretty common in Indian country. And that's one of the reasons AIM started developing to do that protection. Then we're going back to Alcatraz, stayed on the island, not all the time, but I'd be in and out, participating in ceremony because they had sweats out there. They had a teepee set up, and they had kind of meetings and stuff like that going on to see what the next event would be.
Yeah.
So that went on for a while. And then, like I said, the interest in that started kind of swaying, going down. The people had to get back to their job, wherever it came from, and kids were coming back to college. Because a lot of the majority of those occupiers were from Berkeley, Native people. And they had to go back to college, obviously, have to quit, whatever. But they went back, so the population started dwindling at Alcatraz. And this kind of went on for all each month. So the interest just started going down. And after 14 months, I think there's only probably about maybe less than 100 people on the island.
Really?
And that's when the U.S. Marshals came out there with rifles and everything and evicted everybody that was on the island, took them off, arrested some of them, took them off. But that was the end of that occupation.
Yeah.
But from that, in my opinion, from that first event of Alcatraz for 14 months, Indians started developing this attitude of we can do things. We did it, even though we didn't get it done, but we were doing it as a unit from all over the country because people came from all over.
All different tribes.
Different tribes are there to support. And I guess to me that was the awakening of a culture. We knew we could do more. So from that event, in my opinion, the first Pan Am movement of Native American people, when those people left there, people from Berkeley, the kids that went back home after that event, started development programs and stuff at their tribes. Because they say, we can do things.
Yeah.
We don't have to depend on BIA or whatever. We can do it ourselves. We know what we need on a reservation and all this. We involve our culture when we do this, our ceremonies, our ancestors. They're all part of this development, and we're going to bring them back. So it started happening across different parts of the country at different reservations. And if you visit reservations today, you can see tribal colleges. Most of the tribes have their own tribal college now. Through the people that were, maybe not all the people, but people that were Alcatraz that came back and started looking into different programs to build different things. So you got our own social service programs, our own tribal colleges that teach tribal language, tribal history, tribal culture, and nobody else is here. It's not taught in public school. So we learn about our own cultural history, our own Indian heroes that were in our tribe. I lived at Crow Agency, and that's only about a mile from the Battle of the Little Bighorn, where Custer got sued. So we studied the real history, because the version they had up there when they knew their rangers did their presentation was about Custer and his thing. In fact, there was no monument dedicated to Custer. I mean, the natives that died up there. It was just a Custer monument. Well, that started upsetting a lot of Native people. And again, protests came. That AIM came in the movement, and AIM was born on the streets here in Franklin to protect ancient Native Americans from harassment and whatever. But they came in big groups and did a protest up at the battlefield, wanting a monument dedicated to natives up here, wanting natives involved, in this whole thing. But the only perspective they were giving them was the non-native portion, which wasn't, well, maybe true to their history, but that's the whole thing about history. It's called his story. So we wanted our story to get out, our native story. Let them start picking up. So, well, historically, according to what the native culture was saying, the ancestors would say, well, Custer didn't die up on a hill. He died very beginning, down below by the river. He was killed there. So the story about him being the last survivor standing up there heroically shooting, it's not true. And well, that story started coming out. And eventually, they did get a monument up there now. And if you ever go to the battlefield, there's a monument up there dedicated to the natives that died there, the tribes they were representing. And there's even a few gravestones where they fell. You can find many Indian bodies because when the natives left after that battle, they took all their dead with them. And I think they buried them up on the mountains, Bighorn Mountains, or the Pryor Mountains, which were sacred A lot of them were very up there, in my opinion. Uh, and they dispersed, kind of went back, because that was the biggest gathering of the Lakota and other Cheyenne Nation come together, as they call it, the Teton Council meeting, which the Sundance was going on at that time. And that's what Custer invaded. Come down there, and he thought he could take over his village, which consisted of over, I think, 15,000 teepees. Over 4,000 warriors were there. The warriors now, as his reputation was kind of gained by attacking villages, but they're only men, women, and children in their village. All the warriors were out. So that's what he would conquer and dominate and massacre. And that's how he got his reputation as an Indian fighter. That was the first time he ever met warriors. And that was who was there at Sundance, warriors that were trained and seasoned in battle. And they fought back that day. So when Custer divided his forces and went down into that valley to surround these Indians, and all of a sudden they started coming out from everywhere. They were overrun and terminated on the hill. So that was the end of that. And the tribes dispersed to different parts, like I said. And then that's when and that was the last real historical event that happened in Native country. Because they were being chased all over to be put on reservations. That was the goal, to put natives on reservations after they took away their land. And that happened to every tribe. Every tribe would make treaties with them, and they would break it right away. There was no consistency in the United States treaty with Native Americans. In fact, if you look, there was over 500 treaties that were made with different various tribes, and not one of them have been kept so far. Not one. So when America talked about Russia violating treaties, the West Indians would laugh. Yeah. And anyway, that all those events that occurred with people, the Native programs started to rise up and start doing their thing for their own culture, their own benefit. It was actually my opinion started out in Alcatraz. We came together to push our culture, our rights as Native people, because we didn't have very many that were recognized. We recognized them, nobody else did. And that came from that movement, expanded out. We have different programs today all over the country. Different tribes doing their thing. And I went to Chilocco Indian School. I went there for 4 years. Hold it while the noise comes down.
That's okay.
So I went there for 4 years. I went, I think, in '65 as a freshman. Junior, senior, so I spent 4 years there. And learning I was put into the academic arena because they had a vocational training where you got at least 1 semester in different vocational arts, like auto mechanics, I spent maybe a semester there, woodcraft or wood carpentry, spent a semester there, metal casting, we spent a semester in electrical building, we built motors. So we had experience in each of those vocations, which is good because I got the experience of, if you want to make a choice, you can go into one of those fields permanently. With Chilocco first started out as a vocational school. But later on in the years, it became part academic too, preparing people for college. So I ended up in the academic portion because one of the teachers would only choose certain natives that were academically excelling in the classes. So I was one of those chosen. In fact, the class I was in only had about, I think, 12 of us. And we are kind of put in special classes. And one of them was like, we had geometry and calculus and all that, and that's what we would work on. A lot of us kind of excelled in mathematics. A lot of us were in band. I was in a band. I played in orchestra, but that kind of stuff. So went there and got to experience a lot of things native-wise. Met other tribes, kids my age, that were from all over the country. Alaska, Florida, Arizona, all over to come together.
You guys make friends with them?
Oh, not all of them, but most of them, yeah. In your class, like freshmen, and pretty well we all stayed the same as we moved up to the level, freshman and sophomore and junior, all the same group of people that came back. Because some would go home for the summer and come back in the spring or fall. But yeah, we still see our friends, because we made friends with people. And we fought a lot with other people, but we're still friends. When kids they start fighting, and jealous, and they get gossip. Then we were friends. Because after the senior year, there was an attempt to abolish schools. And there was a group in the BIA called who kind of review the school, Chilocco. And when they went back to D.C., they wrote up a real scathing report of what Chilocco was about. They said there was beatings there, abuse going on, and all this stuff. And it wasn't true. By that time, when I was in boarding school, they pretty well had changed. They got more mild with natives. There wasn't beating all the time. The only thing was when I was there, we couldn't speak our language because of the policy in the school, but we still did. And if we got caught, we were just punished by haircuts. We call white walls, trim their hair. And that was the only punishment that was derived from that activity. Up until before that, my parents went, they probably experienced a little bit more different thing in boarding school. When their parents went, it was more and more harsh discipline. Well, those schools were run by churches, Catholic church especially.
Really?
Where one had to convert the natives to Catholic, all of them, but you know how abusive some of the priests and nuns can be. In fact, there was a lot of abuse, not physically, but sexually going on with the kids, yeah. And from those events, schools, that's where a lot of alcoholism started out. When the kids went back, they were in pain physically, so they started drinking, medicating. They figured that's where the basis of our medication, addiction, alcoholism came from those events. And today, when they tried to explain or tell about those events in the schools, from the churches, a lot of people wouldn't believe them. Oh, our priests don't do that. Our nuns don't do that. Yeah. Until it came out, it was happening to them. And all of a sudden they started believing because their parents were being molested by priests and all this stuff, and boys and all that. So that should start coming out now. But our people had gone through that. But anyway, by the time I got to Indian school, it was a little bit different. Like I said, it was more mild, wasn't as strict. All these tribes were there, and a lot of our teachers were, our counselors were Native people. And graduated, so no, they were running the show.
So the teachers were the Native people?
Some people were.
Okay.
And they had Native counselors, Native dorm people, and they were all Native people hired, so that changed things. But anyway, in 69, the year I graduated, I said they were trying to get rid of boarding schools, and there was a treaty that was established. The government would take care of your health, education, welfare, feed you. Well, the boarding schools were developed on those reservations, but treaties. But it wasn't really the case. The school system were trying to de-Indianize the kids. Actually, they were started by John Pratt, who was a military leader back in the cavalry. And during the Indian Wars, he took all the prisoners that were confiscated in the Indian War down to Florida. For 2 years, a lot of leaders, warriors that were sent up for 2 years from imprisonment. And while he was there, he would kind of try to train them to be native or non-native, take them to our churches and stuff and cut their hair. Actually, if you look at pictures now on websites, you'll see their hair is short and they're wearing uniforms. He was trying to change them. And they would comply at that time. Then after their 2 years there, they would go back to their reservation, but they would revert back right away to their own culture. And he didn't like that, and so he said, well, I couldn't work with the elders, maybe I'll work with the Native kids. That's where that came. So the policy was to get Native kids into these schools to kind of de-Indianize them. I think the policy was kill the Indian but save the man. So for some reason, they didn't want our culture existing anymore. So they started getting kids from different reservations. In fact, the first one that was developed was Carlisle Indian School in Pennsylvania. That's where Jim Thorpe came from. The Carlisle Indian School was the first one. So kids were taken from different reservations. I think the first ones were from the Lakota Nation and taken there. And they would stay there. They were taken sometimes at a year, 6 or 7 years old. And sit there and they'd spend the rest of their life till they graduated there. So those kids that were taken in various places at a young age were exposed to the non-native culture, lost the language, lost the culture. So when they got back home, they just didn't fit in anymore.
Yeah.
Couldn't speak with their parents in the native language. Some started learning again, but they were still disconnected.
Yeah.
And one of the things happened from those earlier boarding schools, and those people started medicating too.
Were your parents, did they go to these boarding schools?
Yes, Flandreau Indian School, which still exists today. It's part of South Dakota, right on the border by Minnesota.
So did they learn, or did they forget their language?
No, my dad still spoke his because there was other Crows there, but my mother didn't speak it. She was from White Earth, Minnesota. My dad was from Crow. And that's where they met and fell in love. And I was born like a year after they graduated. And they lived here in Minnesota for a while, but I think my dad got homesick, went back to Crow and took us with him. Like I said, that's where I was raised, but everybody speaks Crow at Crow. It's a first language, primary language, and English is secondary. But I wasn't exposed to that because in that home we spoke English. My parents were born in school and they were taught to speak English, so we weren't raised in Crow. I wasn't raised in Crow, my sisters were. Sisters were, but I wasn't. But was I going to this? Anyway, went back to Crow. I got lost. What was I talking about? Boarding schools?
Yeah, the Crow. Your dad spoke Crow.
No, okay,
Yeah.
language.
Yeah.
But I didn't speak it.
Mm.
So I was kind of disconnected.
Yeah.
But I was still Crow. And proud to be from there. They call it the Solika Nation. People of the big, big bird. A lot of people thought they meant the crow, but actually it was the thunderbird. They were talking about people of the big, big bird, thunderbird. But the name Crow stuck, so we're Crows. And we call ourselves Solika. A lot of tribes are taking back their name instead of being called what the rest of the country calls them. Like the Tohono O'odham from Arizona used to be called Papago. And that term was a Mexican term called bean eaters.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so they didn't like that. They took back their name Tohono O'odham, which means people of the desert.
Mm.
And Anishinaabe used to be called Chippewa. They kind of took back their name was Anishinaabe, which means the people, the original people. So a lot of tribes are taking back their original names and identify with that. So anyway, graduated from boarding school, went to college, ended up in Alcatraz.
Yeah. Did you
No.
graduate college?
No. Oh, I went to college in Tucson.
Oh, yeah.
You know, when I went on, I wasn't on relocation, but I went down there to work. I came back to Minneapolis here, and I quit drinking by then. I was drinking for like 14 years. I call it my field experience. Whereas alcoholism, because I became an alcohol counselor. I quit drinking by then. So I started getting trained or taking classes in alcoholism to get my certification as an alcohol counselor. And I got that when I was in Tucson. I went to Heels Business from Pima Community College and got my associate degree in substance abuse. So I became a substance abuse counselor and got certificate from the college here. And then I also went on and become social studies and got my degree in social studies. And I kind of liked that. So I just kept on going. Got my degree in general studies, which I went on to a 4-year. So that's where I got my education, mostly in the field of substance abuse. And I started working in the field because I quit drinking. And I wanted to help others do that.
Yeah. How did you quit?
I kind of had an epiphany.
Yeah.
I just woke up one day, I was in jail and hardened for disorderly conduct,
Oh, really?
which was a common event when I was drinking. I woke up in there and I was reading a book called Praise by Norman Vincent Peale. And I was laying there. And the book said, praise the Creator, praise God, or praise. Let's do your praise. So I did that. And then I was laying there, I was going, praise you. And when I did that, something just kind of came over me, like a rebirth of my spirit, my body. And I was like, whoa. And that moment on, I quit drinking, I quit smoking, everything. And of course, I went to church at that time because I thought, well, I'll go to church. Because that's what people thought wouldn't help. And it did for a while. But when I went there, I wasn't quite getting that spiritual feeling. I was getting the dogma stuff, reading the Bible and everything, but I wasn't feeling it spiritually. I'd quit drinking. I wasn't going to AA yet. They didn't have AA in the res. I was going to church. But after about a year of that, and I got baptized in a baptism church, baptized in a Baptist church. Then after about a year and a half of that, then I kind of told my pastor, I think I'll probably leave because I'm not getting what I need here. And he said, yeah, I noticed. And I said, and that's when I started sun dancing in the Crow Reservation because we have sun dancers there.
Yeah.
And I got interested in that. So I'm going to go sun dance this year. Right? And I was getting back into my culture now. So I went to my first Sundance, I think it was in Pryor, Montana. Didn't know anything about sun dancing because the Crow sun dance is very traditional. We don't have no food, no water for 4 days. When we
No
go into
water? Yeah.
yeah, no water even.
My God.
We go into that arbor. There's an arbor out there. As we enter it, we stay there for 4 days. So we're sequestered, sleep there, dance there, and there's a tree set up. And we charge that tree back and forth all day long while they're singing. Have our whistle bone whistle, our eagle bone whistle, have our eagle feathers, and charge this tree, which has a buffalo head and an eagle up there, called the tree of life. We dance back and forth all day, just touching that and dancing back, touching that and dancing back from your stall, which is around there. And we keep dancing until we drop. Literally. And hopefully when you drop, you go into a vision. Did you get your vision? And that was the way they used to get their visions a long time ago, through extreme suffering, abstinence, and they'd be blessed with a vision. So that was the whole purpose of that. So I went through that first one. And I wasn't really knowing what to do, but I would just follow everybody else. And once or 5 more times after that, once a year I'd go back to Sundance. After 4 years of Sundancing, I got the right to paint myself, because in the 3rd day we paint, ourselves, because we're going to fight with the buffalo that day. And that's the day we call medicine day, when I dance till we drop, every dance. We're prepared for that. We're being blessed by the people that have got that right. And we get ready to Sundance for that day, get up early in the morning, paint ourselves up, get ready, and they start dancing till evening. And people are dropping around out there, hitting the ground. And they're being covered up by cattail reeds. That's the medicine they use. And a cattail reed is kind of grown by a stream or a marsh. You ever see one that looks like a big reed with a hot dog on the top? Those are cattail reeds. You cut off the top, and they get the reeds, and they bundle them, and they soak them in a stream, so the fibers get all filled up with liquid. And they're nice and cool. And that's what the gifts they give us on medicine day to come on, because they know we're going to go hard. They bring those as helpers. So if you went down, and when I went down on my 4th Sundance, I woke up and I was covered with cattail reeds, which really brought my body temp down. Because at that time, you actually heat exhaustion. Because when I was dancing out there, I was just like waving back and forth, but I still kept going. I was determined. And the Sundance chief was watching me. There was about 4 Sundance chiefs out there, and he watched me. And as I went up to the tree, he come up and I started going back, and he hit me with his eagle fan. Boom! And I just went out, hit the ground, and I went into a vision, which is about wolves and stuff. And I woke, come out of that. I was covered up with cattail reeds. As soon as that happens, they come out there and cover you up. And one of the reasons is to bring your body temp back down. It's a nice, cool cattail reed.
Yeah.
I woke up, cattail reeds, and still covered the bones. I looked around, and people were still dancing, and others were covered up. Crawled back to my spot and just laid there for a while, trying to recover. That was my 4th one. And that's when I pushed it hard. I was going after that vision. But I did dance 2 more times after that, 5 and 6. And from during that time, I got a vision in a dream that was so real to me. Because in that dream, I was piercing here. And it was a tree, and I pierced, and it was like patterns in the sky, and pulsating patches. And I pierced, and I woke up from that dream. It was so real to me. It's like, wow. Talked to one of the elders about it and said, it's a calling for you to Sundance with the piercing kind. And at that time, we didn't do that Crow Sundance. We just fasted till we dropped. So I ended up coming to Lakota Sundance, where they pierce. I started my piercing events.
Yeah.
I did my first Sundance in a rosebud.
So what exactly is it, the piercing? You have hooks almost? Or
No.
how does it work?
Well, you got dowels, but you dance for 4 days, and you choose what day you want to pierce. And you have your dowels, which are made of a choke cherry or whatever, kind of like this, but smaller, and you shave them off and carve them into a sharp point on one end. And that's what they're going to insert into your flesh wherever you choose to pierce. You can pierce here or your back or wherever you want. And what they do when they get to your chest, they'll take up a piece of skin like this, okay? And they got a real sharp scalpel. You insert it through. Then they'll insert that piercing dowel through there too. So after you get pierced here, you got these dowels that are on your chest like this. Then you got your rope that's tied to the tree that you put up there earlier. And then you grab the rope and you got your harness, which is hooked to these, wrapped around the boughs. You hook it up to the tree, that rope, and they're tied to the tree now. And then there's that and singing going on and dancing, and everybody's getting pierced and waiting. Then, excuse me, then we, after everybody's pierced, we're facing the tree and got our ropes here. Everybody's just hanging like that. And then that Sundance chief was looking at everybody, and you're still singing, and we're kind of standing, just dancing. And you'll say, hoka hey, which means good day to die. So we go up to the tree and we pray as long as we need to. Prayers to the tree about whatever. Dance back to our spots and maybe slowly stretch it out. And you'll do hoka hey again. You go up to the tree the second time. Pray. Dance back to your spot. Maybe stretching a little bit more. Third time, hoka hey. Dance up to the tree. Pray some more. Dance back to your spot. Fourth time, hoka hey. We'll all go up to the tree, start praying, and he comes up. All right, this is it. Break. This is the time to break now from the tree. So whenever you're ready, just do it. And he goes back, and everybody starts dancing back. And it depends on what you want to do. Because to me, I thought, well, I'll do it slow, like getting in the water slow, because I'm not used to jumping right in the slow, getting warmer, water, used to it. So I decided I'm going to go back fast. So I started going back real fast and hit the end of the rope. And I didn't break right away. I just stopped and it took me off the ground. Like, oh, and painful. Went up again, started going back hard as I could. I was broke the dowels. I could see them in slow motion spring up in the air like that. And I was looking up and woke up and I was like, oh, I did it. I did it because this was going on for like thousands of years. And here I was doing it. It's kind of like going back in the past. I was just showing everything going on. It hasn't changed very much. So I pierced, my first piercing. Scars up here. And that was my first one, but I kept going back every year, the next 30 years, doing that. Sometimes I did it twice a year. I'd pierce, dance, Lakota style. So kept doing that all the time. And from that, I ended up in Peru. I'm dancing there with Chief Freddy.
They do it. I didn't know they did it.
They do it in Peru.
Yeah, how far does it go back? The tradition of doing that.
And that's,
Yeah.
I have no idea, but I know it's historically 4 or 5 generations because they've been going on, like I said, during custody time, the battle, they had Sundance going on there.
Yeah.
Well, that was a couple of, 100 years ago at least. So that's been going on, I don't know how long.
Yeah.
But they kind of think, you know, those medicine wheels they have on various sites of the country, medicine wheel, that are stones in the form of a wheel. They think those were the first Sundance sites where people would dance. And Sundance was supposedly given to by the people from a vision. This is how you Sundance. So I started Sundancing, like I said, graduated, kept Sundancing every year, piercing and all that. And I met with Alan Brown, who's one of my friends, and he knew my Sundance experience. And he told Chief Freddy about it. Chief Freddy is a person that does things globally. He's a spiritual advisor from Peru country. And he was a Sundance in Peru at Sharpie called a Corral Sundance. It's been going on when I went there about the 3rd year. But he told, Alan told him about me. And Chief Freddy said, bring him. It's next Sundance. Bring him. Make sure he's there. Well, that began my journey there. I ended up going to Peru that first year and Sundancing there with Chief Freddy, other people. It was about 127 of us Sundancing. And I went there again this last February, because it's in February, which is summer down there. I danced there this last February. But I've been going there for the last 3 years now. This is my 3rd year. And but I go there once a year at least. I dance in February, and then I'll go to Rosebud and dance there in August or whatever, at least 2 a year. So, still Sundancing. I'll dance as long as I can, because I just get a lot out of it. I kind of think we have to go through suffering events to give us stronger. Plus, in those events, We gain our strength from the tree of life, which is the creator of the universe. That's where our strength comes from, in prayers. That's why in Sweat Lodge we kind of suffer in there. We tell everybody to focus on your prayers. Will sustain you through this event. Don't focus on the heat. Don't focus on whatever. When you do that, you'll start kind of stressing out. Maybe anxiety will kick in. Be calm. Let the heat pulsate. Breathe it in. Prayers. And you'll get through.
Yeah.
So that's training in that event. A lot of our ceremonies are like that. When you do the mission quest, we stay without food or water for 3 or 4 days at a site where you're all by yourself, in woods or whatever. And that's time to be with Mother Earth, yourself, and any of the animals that come visit you. Maybe get a vision, but that's alone time to be with all that. And during that time, you become one with everything. Creator, the trees, the water, the animals, because we're all related. Even though you get in the city, we don't see that or feel it. But there you start feeling it after maybe the first and second day. There's no distractions, no TV, no radio, no cell phone. We're all outside that circle. Right, a circle, it puts you in that circle. But those events still go on today. Vision quest, men and women alike. So we vision quest, we Sundance, Sweat Lodge, we're still doing that yet. But now, look at it, it's going globally. Not just Native people, but other people are coming to the circle. Non-Native, and they're welcome. I'll say, back in the boarding school, they're trying to force us to go to their churches.
Yeah.
Catholic Church, Baptist Church, but they're all recruiting us or making us go to indoctrinate us in their church. You can understand it because each church said we have the one true God and one true way. Yet they're all fighting against each other. Not fighting, but all have different ways. So, the Sundance, we don't do that. We're welcome, no matter what denomination, what culture, what event, what people, you're welcome to Sundance. We're not going to force you. When you go to Sundance, you don't have to really, they got protocol there, but you don't have to appear to them. You can Sundance whatever way you want, but you got to get permission from the chief. Tell them beforehand, I'm going to do this, it's okay. So you get permission. And maybe you just might want to dance for one day. But you tell the chief, I'm going to dance for one day. Because when I go Sundance, I'll tell the chief, I'm going to go 4 days every time. Okay. But you tell the chief what you're going to do, dance on the floor or whatever. And again, it's up to you when you want to pierce. It's up to you if you want to fast. It's kind of all up to you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's not forced. Whatever you want to do. So it's up, like I said, it's up to you. And some people do hard things, and some people do it more easier, as they ease their way into it. But we've got to develop this strength. Anyway, that's what Sundancing is all about for us in this culture. We don't have a big church building or cathedral. We believe the Creator has already built this with our culture, the nature environment, the trees, animals. That's our culture. That's our cathedrals. You notice the Sundance is built out of very basic things from Mother Earth. And it didn't need millions of dollars to create this. For some reason, churches need millions of dollars. What? What's God going to do with that? God needs your money to build this church. And what? We'll have our Foot Lodges that's built out of normal things from Mother Earth. And we thank her for that. We thank everybody, Creator, Grandfather, Mother Earth, Mama Pachamama, for what they have given to us. Thankful. Wopila, they call it. The thankfulness of being blessed. Instead of not praying for things, we thank whatever we've been blessed with. Thank when we offer gifts as tobacco and all this other stuff to the wilderness, and to the spirits of the ancestors that have gone on. There's a connection there to those things. That's why we do that, to maintain that connection. Because that connection gives us a sense of being. And most Native cultures are connected to Mother Earth in some form or fashion. We try to protect her the best we can. There's a lot of protests going on against oil pipelines, and lumbering, and they're stripping Mother Earth of everything. And we're attempting to protect her as best we can at the threat of incarceration, threat of eviction, all that. But that was our purpose. That's our goal. And I think that's why we're placed here, was to protect her. We're still being harassed with that protection of other. You look at different tribes, there's probably something going on. with the tribe to do the preservation. Down in Arizona, it was against those big mountain telescopes that are being built in sacred mountains of the tribes. Here, pipelines that are going through reservations. Well, there's some kind of protest going on somewhere. Again, they just won't let it alone. They're trying to develop it for materialistic financial reasons.
Yeah.
And ours is about spirituality. No, it's already here. It's already perfect. Why are you trying to develop it? You can't develop what the Creator's already made. It's perfect. You know, we respect that. We're thankful for it. But anyway, that's what our culture teaches us. To get back to that and maintain it, to pass it on to the next generation. In the Crow tribe, we're really blessed with a real beautiful reservation. Consists of 1.2 million acres. We have 3 mountain ranges there, the Pryor Mountains, the Bighorn Mountains, and the Wolf Mountains. We have prairies, we have rivers, and developers have always attempted to get on the reservation to develop that, offering gifts and stuff to the tribes. We'll give you much money if we give us the right to go in and develop. We'll put a big resort here and all this stuff. Make money. But back then, you had to go before the tribal council, which consisted of everybody, each tribal member, enrolled member, could vote on this. And of course, every time they would bring that resolution up to the tribal council, was a constant no, no, no. Vote it down. Because they wanted to preserve this for the next generation. Because we know if that developer came in or they develop a position, they're saying, this is ours, get out of here, and try to develop more of it. So anyway, the Crow tribe, Crow reservation is still pristine as it was 100 years ago. Still maintain it. There's still sacredness in different sites. This next generation can enjoy that. You don't have to reserve a spot. It's all open. Go anywhere you want, fish where you want. Go on a hunt, you can. You don't have all these restrictions. Well, we do have some restrictions, but not all strict. Pretty well freedom. You go camp, whatever, any time of the year, all that stuff. So that's what we're trying to preserve, and that connection of Mother Earth and her pristine presence already there. So that's going on too. Anyway, that's kind of been what I've been through. In my experience, I've lived a real spiritual life from that moment I became a rebirth. And then from that on, I've been on a spiritual journey, which has taken me everywhere. I've been coast to coast, Atlanta, California, Pacific, border to border, Canada, Mexico, tip to tip, Alaska, Florida. I've kind of been all through the whole area.
Yeah.
Gaining from all those experiences, and I came during those events and made me more wiser. And so I was older and wiser, and the Creator was taking care of me because when I was young and stupid. How that goes. But anyway, when I got into those spirituality events, and started out with sun dancing, but those things took me everywhere. And I ended up in Guatemala. I was invited there. And I ended up in Assisi, Italy. I was doing work with Mark Umbright of the University of Minnesota here through restorative justice. I was working with him on that. And he got invited to do his presentation in Assisi, Italy. There's a conference going on called Global Love, put on by the Fauser Institute. And Mark was going to be a presenter. And he said, you can bring 2 guests with you. So we asked if I wanted to go. I said, yeah. And he picked another lady to go. So we went there. And I really enjoyed that because that's where St. Francis of Assisi was born and raised. And it was real beautiful. And I got to see the different events that they have there because St. Francis is actually buried in the basilica in the basement. He's entombed there. I'm learning more about him with the frescoes that were on the church walls. But they had different events there about his life, ceremony. Then we had our regular conference going on in which people would be presenting their programs from different countries that we're doing. So highlights programs. Like one was from Africa where this lady was getting kids out of these liberation armies that were recruiting kids or forcing them to join. And she'd get them and start doing rehabilitation with them. They were trained to be killers and all that. So she was working with them. She showed her video. Mark showed his video on restorative justice. Because restorative justice is getting closure around maybe a real terrific event where homicide or something occurred. And that person was maybe incarcerated, but the family is still there with no closure. But they didn't get to talk to that person. So his program was called Restorative Justice. to bring the two together. And not right away, they had to be prepping, both of them. Prep the family, prep the perpetrator. They might take a year or so, but get them ready for meeting together and talking non-violent. As a person, family want to maybe hear what happened to their loved one's last words or something that this person did. We're going to bring those two together. After they did, actually, some of those people become closer and friends, even though that happened. So it was restoring justice. So I was helping Mark out, but I was doing a healing event. Because after they bring the counselors in, they'd be traumatized by these things they've seen on the videos. And in fact, we actually got to go to the prison and visit with convicts that were incarcerated because of maybe murder or homicide. And they tell their story. So after we viewed the prisons and come back, we have to do closure on that with the counselors that were there because they would be traumatized maybe with this event. Feeling, ugh. So we do healing events around them, smudging them, all that, get them back in balance again. And anyway, from that training, Mark going to Assisi's Italy, he invited me to go along. So I went with him and got to view Assisi's, which was a home of St. Francis, and learn about his history and everything. And he was supposedly the second coming of Christ, according to people there. Because when he passed on, he had the marks of the crucifixion on his body. Here, the feet, and the wound here. And he died at 46 years of age, or earlier maybe, when he had the crucifixion marks. You could call it a stigma. Anyway, so he was really, passionate, loving person. And I kind of enjoyed that. So I wish he would have came instead of Columbus. Might have been different. I learned about him, but while I was at that event, I met up with a lady from Guatemala. When natives get together, we're not in a big crowd of natives, but we kind of are attracted. Oh, there's a native. Walk over right away. Where are you from? What are you doing? What's your tribe? And that's usually our greeting. What tribe are you? Know who they are. This lady came up and she was from Guatemala. And she looked at me and said, where are you from? Well, U.S. And the Crow Indians. Oh, okay. And she said, we're having a meeting, and this was in 2012. We're having a 3-day meeting in Guatemala with my tribe. Would you be interested in attending? Oh, sure.
Wow.
So I got that. Excuse me. And it was actually the year 2012, which the end of the world was supposed to end in December 21st. You remember that?
Yeah.
So I end up going to Guatemala, met with the temple priestess, our spiritual holy men, one man in particular, I can't remember his name, but we were doing ceremony at various temples, sites. So I got to observe and see it, because they have temples real old there. And he got up and we were doing things, and he said, he's telling us the truth about the calendar. Our calendar is not based on Julian calendar. Our calendar is the universe. And it's not going to be the end of the world on December 21st. Actually, it's a new beginning. It's the end of one page, and the new page is coming. So it wasn't the end, it was the beginning of something new, which was interesting. So I kind of, okay. So anyway, I ended up in Guatemala doing those events and participating in ceremony.
Yeah, what type of ceremonies were they doing?
Oh, they were doing a prayer ceremony, blessing ceremony, third cultural ceremony, because they had the monkey dance. We got to be dressed up like a monkey. That was medicine for them, doing that. The panther was another one of their medicine. He'd be out there. Kids are dancing, and we'd have a big circle. Might have been over, I think, 100 of us. A lot of local people would come out, and we smudge with kapow. That's their smudging, kapow. Kapow, which was a sap from a tree. So they would smudge with that, and it smelled real good. But they smudge everybody in a circle and saying ceremony and blessing and prayers and all that. Then we go at different sites, visit the temples and do ceremony there. So that was interesting. I got to learn about that culture. And after we, last night there, the first day, we were kind of treated real nice. They put us up in Holiday Inn. I thought, this is great. We stayed in the Holiday Inn in Guatemala City. Second night, they drove us to more local motels that were more cultural, because no TV, no radio, just 4 beds in the bathroom. And that was it. We kind of got, I think, dehumanized or whatever from the culture. So we did that for second and third day, but still going to two different events for ceremonies. And on the last 2 days, 3 days, we were taken up to the mountains. One of the tribal programs up there that had a building. We stayed there in sleeping bags. So they really treated us nice in the beginning and treated us rough at the end.
Yeah.
So we went up there for 3 days, but we did ceremony in the mountains and jungle then. So that was interesting.
Did you go to Lake Atitlan?
No.
Oh, no.
We stayed in the mountains, in the jungle, and then the city.
Yeah.
So that was interesting, like I said, learning about that culture. But anyway, the path I've been on spiritually has taken me all over the place. Without me saying, I want to go here, it would happen. And I'd say, thank you, grandfather, for this experience. And all from that, still sun dancing, I ended up in Peru, Guatemala, Peru, sun dancing with Chief Freddie.
Yeah.
I've been doing that ever since, and I go every year now. And I still Sundance stateside too. But this year I think I'm going to go support Alan at the Crow Dog Sundance in Rosebud, because he Sundances there, and so does Chief Freddie. I'm going to go support them doing that again. I might dance for a couple of days. I have to get permission. So still going.
Yeah.
Still dancing. It's still on the spiritual journey. They call it the Red Road. But my experience, I said, well, it's a spiritual road because that road is not just red. It can be white road, or yellow road, black road, white road, red road. It's all see the same, the center. So when people I work with people, I really kind of advise them, find out what your culture did spiritually. They all lead to the center, which is the creator of the universe and everything. So find that out. You can welcome to ours, but, well, not but maybe you can find out what your culture did spiritually.
Yeah.
Because they were spiritual people too. I guess they lost it through civilization and all this stuff.
Civilized to death.
Civilized to death, monetarily, finances, that's the way.
Yeah.
Usually not, for some of the most people that are really poor, financially are really rich in their community. They have family, they have land, they have everything. They live on that, so they're rich in that respect, and that's what we see. Not money, but family. That's our richness.
Yeah.
Which is very strong on each reservation. And we kind of go to these different ceremonies. That's what they say. That's why they'll start, hello, family. Well, we become in family there through that bonding experience. Or we all went together and we went together through it.
Yeah.
Going back to the boarding school, that fourth year, I told you we had an event where they're trying to get rid of boarding schools, and they wrote this real Stephen article about what was happening in the meetings and stuff, which wasn't true at all. So what we did was organize a thing called Save Our School Committee and get the truth out of what would really happen here. That's not happening like they say in this report. We're not being beaten, we're not being, in fact, it's a lot better than what my ancestors experienced. So let's get the truth out, because their attempt was actually to maybe close the school down because of that report. Like I said, there used to be treaties that say we would provide education, health for you forever and ever and ever, as long as the grass grows, sunshine, and rivers flow, which isn't the case today. There's no more boarding schools. We still got health care, Indian Health Service, but anyway, going back to that event, we organized this SOS committee, started getting out publicity. Local newspapers found about it, came down to school and started interviewing kids, and it started going out kind of nationally all over. Because one of the reports that were on the news was, well, a lot of kids are protesting their schools. These kids are actually trying to save their schools. And in my experience, it wasn't about saving the school. It was about saving that community of kids that we all bonded together. And that's what we loved. It was that. Not that institution, because that institution was brought us together. And that's what I kind of thought most important, is we had this community of relatives, different tribes. And that's what we wanted to preserve, Plus we're getting them maybe a good education and go work somewhere, get a better job and doing servant jobs. That was another goal. But, that was one of the events. Anyway, that when we were doing that, news came out. Commissioner Bennett, who was a commissioner of BIA at the time, came out, because that happened under his department. But he came out, visited the school, and apologized to the school. And then later, about a couple of months later, he was fired. Government fired him. Or he resigned, one of them. I don't remember what. I don't know, we still kept that going. And we all graduated, of course. But 8 years later, they finally did close the school down. About the kids that were there have gone on, moved on. But it didn't happen, so there's no longer Shalocum anymore, which is where I went to in Oklahoma. But there's only about 2 or 3 native schools left. At one time, there used to be like 50. But they, as the years went by, they got gradually a little bit more sensitive to the culture and started getting more lenient. And one of the things that shocked me when I graduated from Shalocum, we used to make cut our hair short, like soldiers or whatever. So we couldn't keep long hair. So when I went there, I had real long hair. Right away, the first day they cut it off on sidewalls, white walls, they call them. And when I was going to Flandreau for my sister's graduation later on, after I graduated, my brother was there, but they had long hair down their shoulders. And I said, what the hell? What happened here? So they're getting to grow their hair long now and everything. I go, oh, geez, great. Have their language, if they had like tribal languages being spoken, were becoming more native to the Indian culture. I'm becoming more sensitive to the Indian culture. I started advocating it. And plus the tribe is starting to get involved in the Indian boarding schools and wanted to take them over, which of course went against the grain of the Bureau of Indian Affairs and government. So that's my opinion. That's why they started abolishing them, defunding them. So went through that experience, but we have kids going to high school today, but still doing their tribal stuff because we got tribal colleges on the reservations that teach and advocate tribal culture, spirituality, everything, language. And that's the revision of our history and our culture, of learning about our history now, not his story, but our story.
Yeah.
Our story, history, and are passing on to the next generation. So we're coming out in the darkness into the light through our ceremonies, and happy about it, strong about it. Like I say, we open it up to everybody. There's one of the officers of Black Elk, who was a spiritual medicine person. His vision was bringing together the sacred circle, the sacred hoop, like that. Because it was broken out a long time ago. The Creator and Infinite Wisdom sent out the 4 colors in different directions. And so when the time comes, you all come back together to share your experience in that direction. White, yellow, black, and red, which means the 4 races. The Black Elk's vision was the mending of the sacred hoop to come back together. So it's starting to come back together with those 4 colors. And so you'll share what has happened in your experience out in that journey. If you notice that's happening, because we had the Sun Lodge, you have it's not natives, everybody, all kinds of white, black, yellow, everybody's coming. Welcome to come in. Pray the way you pray. You don't have to pray this way, whatever. You pray whatever you want, sing whatever you want. Now we do it 4 doors, and everything's sacred before. You sing tribal songs, whatever tribe song you had. And each time we're going to be adding grandfathers on our rocks, water, which is medicine. Those ceremonies there, but we're bringing the sacred who are being mended now. Piece at a time, 1 person at a time, not like I'm thinking big, but 1 person at a time. So we're sun dancing, we're sweat lodging, talking circles, all this stuff's coming back.
Yeah. When did the plant medicines ceremonies come into your life, like peyote and stuff like that?
But I didn't really do that. I started working with Chief Freddie
Oh, really?
in Allen.
So in the last, how many years?
That's 3 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's new to you.
But Allen does ayahuasca ceremony. He's trained in that. He's a heyoka. I mean, not a heyoka, but a medicine person in that. So I went to his ceremony and experienced ayahuasca for the first time, which is, I did peyote once with Leonard Crow Dog Jr. in Third Beach, Minnesota. It didn't really affect me at all because I took everything, but I didn't have no vision over there. And when I did ayahuasca, I like, oh, wow.
Where was this?
Fairview. The ayahuasca ceremony was at Allen's house.
Okay.
Up until, and back then it was kind of illegal to do that because they were saying that was a hallucinogenic.
Yeah.
But I didn't hallucinate. I just kind of went into calmness and vision and closed my eyes and go into dreams. Maybe hallucination, but dreams.
Yeah.
I'd come back and then go out again, come back, you singing the songs. But I was having a real good time, but of course we purge and you're throwing up.
Yeah.
Because it's cleaning you out. They call it getting well. You're purging out maybe negative energy or whatever. So did that with Alan. Chief Freddie would do ceremony out at Somerset, Martin's Landing in a teepee.
Yeah, that's
So,
where I was. That's
yeah,
where I met you guys.
yeah. So we did the teepee, peyote or chuma,
Machuma, yeah, San
another
Diego.
one in ayahuasca. So we got experience in all those through that ceremony. He probably does most of peyote, and Yolanda, his wife, does that too. He's from Mexico,
Yeah,
where it came from.
Monterey, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and she's trained in that, and that's where it came from.
yeah.
Some
It grows
native,
in a small area,
yeah,
yeah. And
some native men think that was not right that she's done that. And her husband said, "Well, that's where she's from. That came from Mexico. She's from Mexico."
yeah.
They had kind of no basis behind there. They're jealous.
So some native men don't like a woman leading a ceremony?
They don't like women doing anything. I think.
Uh,
Well, that's trend. That's changing now.
yeah,
Because they say, well, traditionally women had all the power. They were medicine. They were sacred. They were worship. What the hell are you doing? So putting them down. And that's one of the things the churches taught the men. You are a master house, and she doesn't obey you. You can beat her with a whip. Like they call it a rule of thumb. Whip no bigger than your thumb. You can whip her into and subsist her.
is that where a rule of thumb comes from?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah. You beat you with a stick no bigger than your thumb.
Oh,
And the men couldn't. They were shocked by it. Indian men. What? Our grandmas and mothers, and they're all sacred. But eventually that started really happening. But that's coming back today because now Indian women are standing beside their men and doing ceremony, and we're going to their ceremonies because they have power. They're life givers. Creator selected them to be the vessel that brings spirit to the body in them. So they're the life givers. So we treat them as sacred, you know. And in every form and fashion, they get to run ceremony. I don't sit there and argue with them because they maybe have real good stuff. They have medicine, they have power, and that's coming back now too. We respect them. And this country hasn't got that far because they won't even elect women in different positions. That was a struggle for the women. You know, that's their struggle to get nothing. They're getting power back. He says and they always have power with us most of the time. As we get over this male macho attitude now. Because without the woman, we're nothing. And the woman I have is Mother Earth. That's my mother. So I have respect for her because she loves us and she gives us everything yet. Water, life, plants, food. She still gives us that no matter how much they're abusing her, but she's still giving it to us with that love. So it's respect for that. And we respect our traditional biological mother, we respect Mother Earth, and respect the home we're in, or the lodge we're in, because that's our another mother. The soot lodge or the teepee, that's our mother too. So that's coming back. I'm teaching that.
yeah.
Like I say, in those experiences I've been to, I got learning from everywhere. Different people, different things, different cultures, learning me, teaching me, I think, with spirituality, maybe their spirituality, which I incorporate into mine. When I run a lodge, sometimes I use Guatemala. I was given a sacred black obsidian stone that came from their mountain volcano, and that's their sacred one for them. I was given that, so I use that. So a lot sometimes as a prayer stone, and as I have people pray, I might have them hold that stone as they pass it around.
Yeah.
So, but I use that because I got that from Guatemala. And one thing I noticed about Guatemala people when I was older, they have obsidian eyes. Eyeballs, there's not blue, they're not brown, they're coal black. Wow, I thought that was beautiful.
Yeah.
And in Indian way, we call them choke cherry eyes.
What do they say?
Choke cherry eyes.
Cherry?
Yeah,
What is that?
choke cherry is a fruit that's black, fruit.
Uh-huh.
And we use it in Sundance, but we should cool their black eyes to that. Beautiful.
Yeah.
All the people in the Guatemala had that. Every one of them had real dark black eyes. No color, but just total black. Like, whoa, beautiful.
Yeah, I remember in the sweat lodge you said that everyone should consider starting a medicine bag with
Mhm.
yeah, can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, medicine bag. Whenever you do some kind of a sacred event, whether it be sweat lodge or teepee ceremony or a vision quest, you'll be given a gift from the universe as a creator. And those gifts, you kind of have to look for them to look around, and something unusual might stand out. Maybe a rock or something, different color rock, and that's meant for you to take. So you grab that rock, and you can get a bag and put it in that bag to collect them, because there are going to be all kinds of gifts coming. But those gifts, And those events that you participated in are in your bag now and still have that power of that event. So if you're, and you see, you might have rocks, you might have maybe plants, you might have tobacco in your bag. And you can wear your bag all the time or during ceremony. But whenever you feel disconnected, whatever down, you just grab your bag because it has that medicine bag, and you can start getting that energy from those events you participated in to get that. Because back then, when we did those events, you were feeling great. And it's still with you. You just got to get back to it. It's still in your heart. Use that to good. A lot of people maybe not have a medicine bag, so I advocate get a medicine bag.
Yeah.
You wear it whenever.
You take it with you?
Take it with you.
During
whatever.
ceremonies or just anywhere?
Anywhere.
Anywhere.
Ceremony, anywhere. Wear it or carry it in your pocket. Kind of like
Feel disconnected, you
grab it and do your prayer. Maybe offer some tobacco to the creator and universe. Do your prayer and pretty soon you start balancing out again. You get back into the flow of the universe. There is a flow there, energy flow. And when we get disconnected, we're standing like trying to go upstream against the current, which drains us, and trying to get our way, which we never could. But it's an illusion we have. So I advise people to go with the flow. Calm down, get your bag, and put you back in the synchronicity of the flow of the universe. There's an energy flow out there.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we're out of the energy flow of the universe. And the universe has a certain circle to it, cycle. The whole universe. Everything goes in a cycle. Everything is circular, round. That's why circle is very important to us. The universe is round, planets are round, flat or elliptic are round. Everything's round for some reason. So you do everything in a circle. A teepee, a sweat lodge, everything's in a circle. Then when you get back in the flow, and a lot of our answers are new about this flow of energy, of the universe and the creator. So we get back into the flow of things. Pretty soon you're starting to flow with everything now. No chaos, just harmony in here. And you feel it. You become one with everything again. But that's the reason medicine will bring that to you. A medicine bag will help you to achieve synchronicity with the universe again. Because it's not just one thing, we're a part of something greater than us. And that's disconnection, we get disconnected from that. And we're lost. So we get back in a flow of things, pretty soon we belong, we feel okay. And you could be all by yourself, but you're happy.
Yeah.
And that's where I am. Because I've been in a flow for quite a long time now. We might be alone, but when I was in Alaska, I spent 2 years by myself in the cabin doing my solitude. That was my vision quest, my sabbatical. And I got used to myself after a year. Up until then, I was kind of like fidgety and expecting somebody to come. But after a year, I finally calmed down. I was okay. And I was okay with the quietness and solitude. Because in that spot, I could hear the trees and see the animals, feel the energy of the universe. And that's what Vision Quest does. It brings you to that connection of synchronicity without distraction. So I did that for 2 years in Alaska, and pretty soon I became okay to just being alone and being by myself. And I wasn't. I had trees, I had water, I had animals, I had Mother Earth, everything was there. I was never alone, even though I thought I was physically. So I became okay with that and happy in that. So again, medicine bag brings that all out. Because there's a lot more than just being a medicine bag. It's being one with the universe, everything. And that's what our ceremonies teach us, to become one with everything. The plants help us. Peyote, ayahuasca, shumi. Well, those are helpers. And in the Crow way, we need helpers to get us to that level of maybe perfection. But our goal is to get perfect in every way as a human being. But it eventually becomes so spiritual and perfect, we no longer need helpers. We live that way every day. In other words, we're in that spiritual way, thinking and thought every day now, 24/7. So we don't need a helper, but we give that helper to somebody else. Here, I think you need this to help you, because I see you're disconnected.
Yeah.
And pray for you, because when you get to that level of perfection, your prayers are powerful. And that's a lot of our healers are in that area. We pray for people that use eagle feathers and stuff, which are sacred, and help a person. Anyway, that's kind of what I have been through to learn. I've got my helpers that are given to me, and I'll keep them, but I'm not a keeper. I'm a holder, I'm a caretaker. So if somebody else needs it, I'll pass it on. We don't really own anything.
Yeah.
We came in this world with nothing. We're going to go out with
Yeah.
nothing, and learn to be okay with that. And
What
so,
is your advice to people that are trying to start like a spiritual path? Because I don't know, this culture, there's not,
mhm.
it seems like it's lacking. People seem lost.
Yeah.
Like they don't know, they don't even know where to start. Where would you
Well,
say to those?
maybe go to the contact a spiritual person. Could be non-native, but you know they're spiritual because they're not asking you for a donation, whatever. Well, money, a
Yeah.
fee. You should donation, surprise, whatever you can afford. And they'll give you some advice. Might have you participate in the ceremony, but it begins your awakening, and you keep coming back. And the more you come back, the more stronger you'll getting that flow. They teach you about the flow of everything, the life and the ceremonies that help achieve that. Because up until then, they had no exposure to that because college doesn't teach that. Teaches you how to get rich and how to get more money, education. Well, intelligence is not the answer. It's good. It's good to have it, but still, it doesn't help you spiritually. So just get with find a spiritual person. It could be any culture, and they'll start giving you directions and start you on your journey. And that journey will lead you everywhere. Like I said, my journey has been everywhere. It's taken me everywhere. Once I became thirsty for that experience, when I first woke up in that time, the awakening, I was thirsty. I was like a sponge. I wanted more of everything. I became spiritual and I was seeking them out, looking for them. And they were coming. But in that awakening process, I became more interested in things. And that's where I got into martial arts because I always wanted to study martial arts, and I took that. I always wanted to fly a plane. I got that done. Scuba diving, I got that. I'm certified. But all those events I wanted to do because before that, I was drunk talking about it, but not doing it. Just talking about it. I started doing everything because all my friends I'd hung with now were black belts. And they were into these kind of things. So I kind of hung with that crowd, and taking me different ways. When they go to ski and a lot of scuba dive, and like I said, more pilots, and I got involved in all that. And we all hung together as black belts, and I started teaching that, but I incorporate native ways into mine, which are sweat lodging and stuff. Now I just teach privately. Before I used to have classes and everything. And now I just have some private students like Alan and Jane, and their boy Daniel. He's my brown belt, and Jane and Alan are green belts. And we train them at least twice a week. So still doing things. I'm still interested in things, but I kind of getting old now. I'm okay with things. Whatever comes will come. And getting ready for the great crossing. I think more about that now. You know, the golden years. Well, I had a good life.
Yeah.
And had a good experience. And when the time comes, I guess I'm ready. Because I've done everything I could. I experienced a lot of things other people have never experienced.
Yeah.
I've been to places a lot of people wish they could go. Like I say, this journey has taken me all over. And it's still doing that. So that's it. Still going.
Yeah.
And thank you for this interview.
Yeah. Thank you.
And I hope you do whatever you need to do with it.
Yeah.
Keep me advised. I hope.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.